welcome back to Gale Book Review, the show where I pick a book out of really whim and then I read it and I give you a review about it because I like to critique everything in my life and I feel like sharing that critique with you. Last time I decided to read Anna Dressed in Blood by Kendare Blake. That is probably not how that is pronounced. I am sorry, Miss Blake? Mrs. Blake? I am sorry, Miss Blake. As per usual, we have a spoiler section and a non-spoiler section. The non-spoiler section will be the beginning of this video till approximately around here. Then there'll be a little 10-second intermission and we'll head to the spoiler section. So, if you're interested in potentially reading this book, or you just want to know the basic gist of whether or not it's going to be a good read or not, then stick around for about that long. And then, I don't know, just go live your life, pick other books, go read. Enjoy the air, the sky. It's a beautiful day today. So the story for Anna Dressed in Blood is that there's a kid named Cass who's teenage, you know, what, I want to say 15, maybe 15 to 17 years old. He lives with his mom, his dad is dead, and he is a ghost hunter. But not the kind of like Ghostbusters where they have science and electropacks and whatnot. This is a very traditional magic and kind of cutthroat ghost hunter. He uses a knife and just, you know, kills them, but with a magic knife, so it kills them for real instead of just going through them. So that's Cass's job. He goes to school and stuff and he doesn't tell people about his job, but basically he's given up on everything but that job. He's basically dedicated his life to it. And at the beginning he's hunting a ghost when he gets a message from one of his contacts. And the contact basically tells him, hey, there's this legend about a ghost called Anna Dressed in Blood, and that she's like a real murdery ghost, not just a hi, I'm gonna peep into your shower kind of ghost. So it's really important that, you know, he comes in and looks into it, makes sure it's like an actual ghost, and if so, get rid of it for the town. And so the story follows him moving to this new town. It's someplace in Michigan, I believe. Canada. It's Thunder Bay, Canada is where he moves to, and he basically goes into this new town, new high school, new people, you know, mingles a bit, and then goes hunting for this ghost, and learns about this ghost, the legends surrounding her, and basically stuff happens. The book happens after that. And honestly, not a bad premise for a book. So, the first thing that hit me when reading this book, and the first thing that'll probably hit anyone my age who reads this book, is that this is a book that is definitely written for teens at a certain stage in their life. It is very, very edgy. Like, I would very much imagine that I could metaphorically cut myself on the edge of this book. I can't in real life because it's actually very soft and round, but if this book was as edgy as its character, its main character, I would be bleeding all over because he is the epitome of just death becomes me. Oh, nobody can understand me. I'm different from every other person on the planet, and like no one will ever understand me, and I have a personal connection to death. Everything's dark. You know, like very much that feel of character. And that's kind of just the feel of the whole book. So if you're in that stage, or if you don't mind that kind of feel to a story, you're gonna be fine. And it's going to be a decent read, and you probably won't be bothered. But if you're like me and you've kind of grown past that stage and you find it a little funny and a little cringy, then it's gonna kind of hit you differently. It's not going to be as serious, I guess. Other books will be more tonally mature. This one will definitely hit you with that. It'll hit you with that teen angst feeling, and that's not a bad thing. I don't want to knock it because of that angle, because, you know, teen angst is a legitimate feeling, and having a character who, you know, appeals to that sort of audience isn't the end-all be-all of good writing. It's not like he's destined to be an idiot because he's, you know, broody. It's just a character trait that is a lot more divisive than some others. So it's good to be aware of that before you pick up this book. As for the plot, it's kind of hard to describe. It is very action forward and it does have some good bits of horror and gore, but I was never scared. But to be fair, I don't think I was expecting to be scared, and I wasn't giving myself up to it enough to really feel like a fear reaction. It's weird, depending on how you feel about horror books, you know, sometimes it's really easy to freak you out, and if so, this definitely has a lot of visceral imagery and a lot of stakes. Things actually, you know, cause legitimate harm that is permanent. So it's not, you know, a baby ghost where, you know, they find the ghost, they talk to her, and she's all like, well, I'm not evil, I don't kill people. That's just like they fall down a set of stairs and then they say it's me, don't kill me. It's not that kind of a story. Very much there is danger and there is a sense that characters can die or get hurt permanently in this story. But it also kind of has this lightheartedness that probably comes from the fact that it's a young adult novel, and so it doesn't get too dark and too, trying to think, like, just mature themes in general, I guess would be the best way to say it without saying it. So yeah, you're gonna have some cool imagery and some, you know, high stakes in this story, but it's never gonna feel too much. This definitely, one or two scenes where there's like, ooh, a real brutal moment happens, but other than that, a lot of it is kind of more anticipation of the scary things or learning the mystery behind the scary things. It's not wholly centered around being scary. What it is centered around, though, is the romance, and I could go on forever about romance. It's half of what I've dedicated my channel to, basically. So yeah, I could, but I shouldn't, so I won't. What I will instead say is that the romance in here is very generic, despite trying to be the least generic possible. And what I mean by that is the main romance in the story is between Cass and a girl, and it's very much, you're the only one who understands me, this is just my deal because I'm a ghost hunter, kind of a feel. It's not because they connect emotionally, it's not because they have a cute moment together that makes them realize that they like each other. It's very much just kind of, you know who I want my protagonist to get with? This awesome chick. And that can be fine if you're not too invested in a real romance and you're kind of more invested in the ghost hunting bit and the romance is secondary to you. Then yeah, you probably won't have a big problem with it. I did, though, because it seemed to me that this was a half and half, right? Half horror story, half romance story with this, and that was just such a really pathetic romance. And I'll talk about it more in the spoiler section, of course. But yeah, not my favorite, not really something that I would encourage people to look at as like an example of anything. It felt just kind of like we just wanted our protagonist to be with someone cool, so we put them together, and that's what we did. And they don't have a good reason for it, but whatever, it works, because romance logic, love conquers all. That's all we need. There are some side characters who have kind of a romance, and there are other side characters that don't have anything to do with the romance but are part of the plot. They all are also kind of generic. I wouldn't say I walked away from any of them feeling particularly wowed by their characterization. It's not like they had personalities that really stood out as, oh, I really feel for that character. There's the nerdy character who everybody picks on in school. There's the popular girl who's secretly more than just the popular girl. And then there's jocks who are jocks. So it's very generic high school cast right there to combat the super original protagonist and romance. And again, it feels very teen, edgy, emo, I'm special, everybody else is just normal, and this is why they're all normal, they all act like you expect them to act, but I'm special and I have this difference in me. And the nerd kind of has a little bit of something to do with ghost hunting, which makes him not just a useless nerd. He's a nerd about the things that the main character likes, so it makes him like the de facto best friend and that kind of stuff. But oh, it's generic high school characters and high school drama, and you probably have seen a movie that has a lot of these features and characters in it. And I guess that's the whole thing for me, is despite the story trying so much to be different, it ends up feeling the same as other stuff that I've seen before. And I don't know if that's just because this book is older, 2011. So, there's obviously been a lot of media since 2011 that probably has gotten further and further and further from the classic tropes that we've known in like the 90s and stuff. But yeah, it tries very hard to be unique, and it does have some unique themes and some unique action sequences. It really does go hard when it is in those, horror bits and part of the ghost stuff. And I think that's where it is the best, is in that ghost stuff. But everything is just surrounded in this blanket of how do we tell the most obvious tale of a guy going to a small town, new high school, but he's special. Yeah, that's just what it is. To me, at least. And I can definitely see why this was very popular with a younger crowd. I'm just not the audience for it. So with that being said, I'm giving this book a tentative 3 out of 5. Because nothing about it was written wrong, and it wasn't written badly. It had a proper beginning, middle, and end. The climax wasn't my favorite, but it was a proper climax for the story, and it did set up for the sequel, which I will not read because, yeah. But it was well written, and for what it was, it did that well. It just wasn't for me, and I don't think it will be for anyone who's looking for something very unique. So that's why I give it a 3 out of 5. Obviously, take into account my biases. I am an older woman. Well, older. I am a not teen woman, and I am looking for kind of a unique twist on a lot of stories. That's what I like in a book. So yeah, this wasn't for me, but it wasn't awful. Just a bit run-of-the-mill. So with that being said, we are done with the spoiler-free portion of the Anna Dressed in Blood review. If this is where you're leaving us, well, thank you so much for watching this far. Next time, I don't know when the video will come up. I'm hoping to write it within read it and finish it in the next month. But I will be reading Uprooted by Naomi Novik. If you would like to read along, go ahead. You can probably find this at a library or something, if they're open now. But yeah, this is the next book I'm going to read and review, so look forward to that. Thank you so much for watching the non-spoiler portion of this review. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye! Hello everybody and welcome to the spoiler section. I'm Gale and we're going to talk about romance because you bet you that that's the thing that I was most interested in this story, and it's the thing I have the biggest problem with. So I said in the non-spoiler section that there was romance in this book, and it was a romance that was kind of put in just to make the protagonist feel even more unique and cool. And that's because he romances the ghost. Yep. Anna Dressed in Blood is a story about a ghost hunter who falls in love with a ghost and then hunts a different ghost at the climax, and then his ghost girlfriend, who just kind of became his ghost girlfriend, dies with the other ghost. It's all very cinematic. What do you need for your edgy ghost hunting teen to really push him over the edge into uniqueness? Make him fall in love with a ghost. A ghost with like super ghost abilities. Like, she's super strong. She's the strongest ghost he's ever seen, kind of strong. The biggest problem I have with that is just that they never get together and like really acknowledge one another as people. And what I mean by that is when you ask somebody out or want to start a relationship with someone, even if it's online and you've never met them before, the first step is usually having a conversation that either you can be flirtatious or you can get some info, try to talk about hobbies and stuff. You kind of put out there, hi, I'm a person who is, I'm looking for a connection with another person. I am looking to figure out if you fit what I want in a relationship and if we would be able to, have romantic ties together and make it work out. What Cass does is he goes to a house and then gets thoroughly beat up by the ghost inside, but then comes back because she didn't kill him. So that shows something, because she killed the other guy, so clearly he must be some kind of special. And then he like talks to her and she's just like, get out of this house, I don't want to murder you, but I'm gonna murder you. And he's just like, nah, I don't think I can take you. I kind of wish I could take you because I'm supposed to be the cool protagonist, but you're a little bit, a lot bit stronger than I am, so you beat me in a fist fight. But I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna kill you. And the ghost is like, don't come back, I'm gonna kill you. And then he comes back and comes back again. And they kind of develop like not even a friendship, but a begrudging, I'm going to not kill you. And he's going to kind of not kill her, but like she wants him to try because she wants to not be a ghost anymore. But he's kind of like, but I like you, so I don't want to just like kill you. And so they figure out, well, he goes off with his other friends and then they figure out other methods of subduing a ghost and try through her backstory, try to figure out what happened, how can they solve it, that so she can still be there or whatever. But hobbies, interests, if they're even romantically inclined, none of these questions get thrown out there. She's very on guard the entire time, so it's not like she's a sweetheart who, nurses him back to health or is like, oh, I'm a Jekyll and Hyde situation. I'm the really cute, sweet one who really likes humans, and then I have a demon part of my ghost body that really hates them and hunts them down and kills them. It's very much, she's like, no, it's me. I mean, I'm not in control of myself, but I will very much kill you, and I don't want to tell you about anything about my life because I'm a private person and I have boundaries, so go away. So yeah, it doesn't really build the best romance when that's kind of the two players you're playing with. someone who's closed off from humanity because of his job, and someone who's closed off from everyone because they're a murderous ghost. Like, you think that that matches up, but it really doesn't. They need something. Which is kind of why I wanted him to actually get together with the popular girl. So there's a popular girl, her name is Carmel, and Carmel, again, is kind of the stereotypical, I'm not just a popular girl, but she kind of really is just a popular girl. She's just not, like, full of herself like other popular girls are portrayed. So that's her big difference as a character. But the thing was, it would have been really interesting to see this closed-off kid who has this whole separate life of ghost hunting and his dad's death and the constant moves, and then this girl who's been put as like, oh, you're super popular, you're super friendly, everybody likes you, and have her get to know this kid and just through like sheer positive energy get him to open up a bit and like form a friendship slash have it blossom into romance. Like, that could be really cute. At least that's what I thought. I thought that would be much better to like help kill some of the edge that was like pervading the room. Like, you know, it's a stupid metaphor, but it kind of felt like there were a bunch of swords around me, and if I moved around too much, I'd get cut everywhere from all the edge in the air. So yeah, I was kind of wishing that something soft and sweet like that would like balance it out and make it like an interesting flip on the tale, that he's so guarded and then he gets there and then this ghost, perhaps, you know, she wants to help him, but then he suddenly learns, you know, I don't want things to leave, I don't want her to be threatened, and then that becomes a whole emotional issue. Like, that could have been fun. I get why they didn't, but it could have been fun. But then I got really sad because then they kind of put forward the whole nerd gets together with a popular girl that he's always had a crush on, but she's never noticed him because he was a nerd in the background cliche, and like, again, I get it, but also, like, can we not? I don't need a romance at all between the side characters. It might honestly have been better than trying to force this nerd kid to like get together with the popular chick. And they don't quite get together, but it's heavily implied that like it's leaning that way, and I assume in the sequel they probably get together or have some sort of romantic shenanigans in that story. So, I don't know. Again, romance is a big thing for me. I love it. It's like if I had a triangle of fantasy, of reading, you know, what makes a book great for me? My triangle would be like strong character, fantasy elements and magic, romance. That's mine. That's my trifecta of what makes a fantastic book for me. So to have such a generic and overplayed romance that feels like something you'd find in an otome game as one of the like 5 options for you to go for, like, I don't know, it just didn't hit for me, and I wanted something a little bit fresher, a little bit interesting, something that really got my heart going, but none of these, any of the relationships, none of them really hit well for me. But the book wasn't all about romance, so I should probably talk about anything else. So I'm going to talk about the climax, because the climax is probably the most important part of the book, and I felt it was okay, but it was so sequel baity that it kind of ruined it for me. So the climax is this. The kid, Cass, has got a knife. He got this knife from his father, and it turns out the thing that killed his father was a ghost he was hunting, and that ghost is now inside that knife. Has been hiding there all along and has been getting stronger as Cass kills more ghosts, which is actually very interesting. I really like the idea that his own search for revenge by killing all these ghosts and preparing himself to face the one that killed his father has actually powered up the ghost that killed his father. That's a really cool idea, and would have been really cool to play with the emotions of that. But it didn't quite go in that direction. It kind of just went more into, okay, we just gotta get this guy. Like, it's a very much a third act, end of the book sort of climax. It is not something built over time. So they get to, basically, they go home, talk to mom, realize the cat's been killed. That made me really sad. And they're like, oh, the ghost has come out of the knife because that's the only thing that's changed, and the cat hated stuff, and lots of stuff comes together for this, basically. And so they go and they talk to some other people who know some things about the magic of ghost hunting, and they all decide as a team, Cass, his mom, the nerd guy's uncle or grandpa uncle, who knows, his father figure, who knows about ghost hunting. He's where he learned it from, or where the nerd kid learned it from, not Cass. And then the popular girl, and then they invite one of the jocks who like hasn't been in the story really all along, but they needed another guy, so they're just like, throw him in. If he can be fodder, need be, we can kill him off. So they all go to Anna's house. Anna, the ghost girl's like, cool, I guess I'll help you in case of emergency. So they set up a bunch of stuff. And this is after they've dealt with like the evil presence in Anna, so she's more tolerable now. She can like stand next to people and not murder them. So they like set up everything, and then finally this ghost guy, the evilest ghost, comes in, and he's following around. He's gonna eat people. I think he eats people. I think that's actually what he does. So he's like, I'm gonna come and I'm gonna eat you. I'm gonna munch on your bones. It's gonna be a fun time. And the characters are like, we don't want you to munch on our bones. That doesn't sound like a good time. So they come into this climax, and they're about to have this battle, and the only thing I remember from this climax is that none of the characters really do much that's cool. I think it's constantly pushing other people out of the way. Like, he goes for the mom, so Cass saves his mom, and then he goes for the hot chick, so the nerd saves the hot chick, and then they kinda trap him, but it doesn't really work, and they're like, oh no, he's gonna murder us. So Anna, the superpowered ghost chick, is like, you know what, I'll just
open a portal to hell and suck him in.
And I had to stop for a second. I'm like, one, the imagery is cool. Don't get me wrong. The idea of a ghost girl just being like, you know, screw it, I'm just gonna open a portal to hell and drag you into it. Cool. And if that had like ended as sort of a thing that she knew she could do, but she didn't want to go to hell, like that scared her, and so she wanted any other way out of being a ghost than that. And then this was a self-sacrifice moment where she's like, you know what, I've committed a lot of wrongs, this is the one way I can fix it for all the murders that I have done, you know, and let all the human people that she's become friends with, you know, go off into the world unattached to this ghost. That would have been cool, and it kind of could have been like a heartfelt moment of just like, you know, she doesn't want to, but she did anyway. But we know so little about her personality because she hasn't really been built up as a character, more of just this evil thing that they dealt with, and then turns out she's not so evil. Yeah, it just gets to the climax and she just opens that portal, pulls them in, and then that's it. And then she kind of is like, bye everybody. And then Cass is like, no, I loved her. She was the it girl for me. I could never love again. Okay, that's a bit dramatic from what actually happened, but you get the feeling, you get the idea. He's all sad about it. And so in the sequel, they're gonna go off and find her in hell and bring her back. And that's fine if you really wanted a sequel, but I don't think this story really needed one, and it doesn't set itself up for one really well. I would have rather had this be, if he had to romance the ghost, I'd rather have this be someone who romances someone, a ghost, and then that, through that relationship, learns that they're closed off from people, living people, and that they need to open themselves up to the world and allow people in because basically they're no better than dead. right? And have that be some sort of lesson he learns, and then he goes off to the living friends, and maybe then he falls in love with a popular girl, and then he becomes best friend with the nerd kid, and then he like deals with the jocks and doesn't despise them as much, and maybe learns that they're not just jocks, they have, you know, hobbies and families and interests and dreams, right? Learn something. But this story, Cass doesn't really learn much other than, I guess it's trying to be he needs other people and that's why he kinda gets friends, but it kind of feels more like those friends just refuse to leave him alone, so he kind of begrudgingly just deals with them, than it is that he forms real friendships. He doesn't do any friendly activities with any of them, he's very job focused, and they're just like, well, I'm just gonna follow you to this ghost house because I think you're cool, and I think you need a friend, and I want to be that friend. And that's why it all felt so generic to me, because they had a decent idea, and there are ways I could have seen this becoming a better idea and having more weight to it, but they just didn't take that route, and that's fine. Like, not every book needs to be a great moral, you know, building exercise where you develop a whole new understanding of the world from it. And it takes a lot of guts in a young adult book to kill off the romantic interest, like, permanently, and have him, a protagonist go for a new romantic interest. I get it. That's not a very popular move. Everybody wants that true love stuff. They don't want my first love died, so I got a second love, you know? So I understand it. It just was a combination of very cliche things that made it so that when reading I was just kind of like, okay, this is fine. Nothing special. So again, that's why I gave it 3 out of 5 stars, and maybe you can understand where I'm coming from better with that, and maybe you feel the same, or maybe you read the book and felt completely different. If so, leave a comment down below, because I would be incredibly interested to hear people who had a totally different experience with this story. This is definitely a book that I think was very popular, especially when I was in high school. I know that's when Darling read it, and he loved it, was in high school, so I'd be interested to see the perspectives of people who were the proper age for this book, what their, you know, response was. Did it last with you? Do you read it again and think, I don't like it as much, or do you still love it? I'd be interested to hear if anyone has that experience. But yeah, that's it for this episode of Book Review. Just a reminder that the next episode will be Uprooted by Naomi Novik. I am interested. This is much more up my alley than horror/mystery is, so I'm excited to see if this hits my trifecta of fantasy character romance books. And yeah, that'll be it for this episode. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye! Hi there, it's the end of the video, my friend. Hit the bell if it was okay, I'm sure I'll make good content someday. I'll play some games or do some drawing, Pokemon and fights with Darling, video essays and reviews. I couldn't do it without you, so thanks, like and subscribe.